News Radio KMAN weather.
Currently in Manhattan, Kansas, fair skies with 85 degrees and wind gusting as high as 21 miles an hour. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low of around 61. Tomorrow, sunny with a high near 82 with winds that could gust as high as 25 miles an hour in the afternoon. Thursday night, partly cloudy with a low of around 63. Partly sunny with a high near 80 on Friday. And Friday night, chance of precipitation is around 50%. Up next, the game on News Radio KMAN.
KMAN Daily Weather is presented by Fox Business Systems. How much does downtime cost you and your business? Don't let another second go by. Call Fox Business Systems at 776-1452.
The following is an exclusive presentation of News Radio KMAN, your home for K-State athletics. It's game time. This is The Game on News Radio KMAN.
Well, both Kansas and Texas Tech, $25,000 poor after today. Some punishments being handed down from Big 12 Commissioner Brett Yormark after the incidents, shall we call them, that happened at Texas Tech this past weekend between the Red Raiders and the Jayhawks. The throwing of tortillas, which we've seen forever and will probably not stop seeing. I don't think that's going to stop anytime soon. The accusations made from Coach Leipold, also just kind of that entire situation in general. The alleged pocket knife that was found on the field, the fallout. Each school fined $25,000. Here's the quote from Brett Yormark. After a formal review, Texas Tech did not take sufficient steps to prevent and deter the repeated throwing of objects onto the field. Coach Leipold's comments questioned the integrity and professionalism of both the conference and a member institution. So $25,000 hits, that's the fallout, probably nothing more than that. I believe there was somewhere that was reported that the pocket knife was found on the field closed, and a student athlete presented it to a KU staffer. So I think the case is kind of closed on that. So we can hopefully wipe our hands of that and move on moving forward. Welcome into the game, a young edition of the game. Not that Mitch is old by any means, but we're at an average age of 21 today in the studio. The Young Bucks holding it down. I'm Cole Dutchendorf, Toby Hamas to my right, across the glass, Gavin. Big day for Gavin. Behind the board for the first time solo. So far, so good. We'll get the Gavin grade later on today in the show. So it'll be a self-eval. So we won't put the pressure. It won't be from me, won't be from Toby, won't be from our callers. It'll be the self-evaluation from Gavin. 2 hours with you today. Got a pretty full show here in hour number one. Our two interviews of the day. Mason Voth from K-State Online here in a couple of seconds. And then later on, voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus. A lot to talk about today with Mitch because it was a pretty fun game for the Chiefs on Sunday night. And then in hour two, we'll go over who are some players who need to step up for K-State to continue their success over the last couple of weeks, the 2-1 stretch in Big 12 play, and really a couple of plays away from being 3-0. Chiefs rolling back the years offensively. They have been very good over the last couple of weeks on the offense. And then also something to mention right now at the top of the show, K-State Track and Field. It was self-proclaimed, but this is from K-State Athletics, the top-ranked recruiting class in the NCAA. I'm honestly not too familiar with where to go for those rankings, but reading through some of the bios are kind of ridiculous, some of the talents that they have for this year's class with Travis Gopher. So, I mean, hey, kudos to them. They signed 14 new athletes, 6 freshmen, 8 transfers. Might be the year for that K-State gets a national championship, dare I say. So we'll talk about that if we have time in hour number two, but definitely one thing to mention at the top. Also, the K-State baseball schedule has been released for 2026. And Toby, the one thing we saw kind of, it doesn't look quite as good. I don't know if there's going to be some games that'll be filled in. There may still be. But when you look at last year's schedule, man, part of it is last year's schedule was brutal. This year's definitely doesn't look as difficult. Still a lot of marquee games, including going down to Arlington, Texas again, but not maybe as difficult as it was last year, which is probably a good thing.
Right. We know how much Coach Hughes values the RPI and making a good case for the national tournament at the end of the year. This year, didn't really see the big road trips to North Carolina, Coastal Carolina, and some of those big ranked games early on. So hopefully they can pick up some wins early in the season.
But still 22 games with teams that were inside the top 50 of RPI at the end of last season, a couple that were ranked in the last edition of the D1 Baseball's top 25 at the end of the year. But first up on the docket, Mason Voth from K-State Online. We good on that end? Okay. Mason, just first things first, just wanted to see how you're dealing with the loss of college basketball legend Sister Jean. May she rest in peace.
Well, this is where I have to be a little bit wiser about my words as I get older. Very rarely, do I bring the average age of a show up, but I am doing that with you guys today at the ripe old age of 27. I have to remember she was an actual person. Feel very horribly for her and her family or whatever, her surrounding crew is. Not fun. You live a great life like that. You probably just think it's going to go on forever. The college basketball side of me does say good riddance, and we can get that bad energy out of K-State basketball lore and the curse that she's put on the Wildcats. And maybe this means they're getting back to the tournament and they'll actually beat a mid-major in the Elite Eight this coming season. So that's what I think that it means. And I'm moving past Sister Jean and just looking to bigger and better things for basketball.
The good news is 106 years old, that's a celebration. That's not really a grieving. You're celebrating a life well lived at the helm of Loyola Chicago. So we do want to be thinking about her family in this time. Well, to K-State a little bit more specifically, Mason, was TCU the best performance of the year for the Cats in your eyes?
Yeah, I think I might still say UCF. Both games, the defense, kind of a similar situation where they did a lot of good, but also had some significant breakdowns that led to big plays that made the game end up being closer than it probably needed to be, or made the K-State offense kind of keep pushing a little harder. The offense was, I think, a little cleaner against UCF, but you really can't complain about what they did against TCU. The first 3 drives, getting into TCU territory and punting, not great. That's got to be cleaned up. And it was even to the point where it was so bad that K-State didn't even feel like they could go for it on any of those 4th downs. They were that backed up. So there were some things that weren't great, but they kind of bided their time. The defense obviously stepped up with a couple of scores. And then, once the second half started, it was a completely different team because they were still making plays on defense and the offense was executing much better. So it was a really good game. And more than anything, probably just the fact that we've seen 3 straight weeks now where they've played football that's good enough to beat any team in the Big 12. Maybe not Texas Tech based on how they're going, but the team that's played the last 3 games, they could win any game that they're in the rest of the year aside from that one. So it gives you kind of hope about what comes next. And obviously it's the right time to get to playing well because when you start as bad as this team did this season, while, some people may not like to hear it or it sounds like a pretty sad way to live this season, like there was really only one thing left for this team this season. And it was to make sure that they didn't fall flat on their face at Kansas. And I think they're giving themselves the best chance heading into that game next weekend.
You mentioned those couple of punts. I believe the net punt yards for the first 2 were 44 total between the 2, but also it was like 4th and 9 and 4th and 14, so not exactly ideal situations, moving the ball, but just stalling a little bit. That was the key of the first quarter for K-State offensively. On K-State Online, which, by the way, check them out. A lot of great stuff that they put out every single week. You released some of your grades from the game last weekend. Who got the highest grades on the day for you?
Well, I think the linebackers got an A+. It's kind of hard not to give them a great grade when Des Purnell has 2 picks, one's for a touchdown, and then also had a sack. And I don't know, it wasn't back to being his best game or even what I think he's capable of, but it was better for Austin Romaine, who I thought had a really, really bad game against Baylor, which kind of makes it a weird stretch for him because he played maybe his best game in a K-State uniform against UCF, and then against Baylor is like, he's noticeably struggling today. So the linebackers I thought did well, and the offensive line, I think you could watch and see some things and go, maybe they struggled in these areas or they didn't do this, and I know that they may not be performing to like an elite level, but the fact that the offensive line hasn't been a story the last couple of weeks, They get graded on a curve a little bit for just how bad they were and how little I thought of them earlier in the season. So I gave them pretty good marks as well. And then the corners. This is why defense ends up being the biggest notable story from the game, is that I thought it was the best game the corners had played all season, and primarily with Donovan McIntosh and Zayshawn Rich, which is encouraging because those guys are still just sophomores, and it looks a lot more like what K-State was expecting from those guys this season, carrying over from the Rate Bowl last year.
One thing I want to touch on more, you mentioned the offensive line. The one thing that stood out to me, there was a couple of drives in the second half where it was a heavy dose of runs, and it felt like they were playing with a lot more energy. The one specifically was, I believe, the drive immediately after the 85-yard touchdown. There was 9 out of the 12 plays on the next drive for K-State were on the ground, and it wasn't necessarily a ton of explosive plays, but they were still owning the line of scrimmage and picking up positive yards on pretty much every single play. Is that something that you see them continuing to do and build upon moving forward?
Yeah, well, K-State kind of has the beauty of understanding this year that there's value in just being able to get 3.5 yards on every play because they saw Army do it against them and it worked pretty flawlessly. And K-State's got the personnel to, in theory, be better on fourth down than a lot of teams. And so I think that if you can just get to a level where, because Joe Jackson, I mean, he went for over 100 yards. I think people thought that he played well, but he only averaged like 4 yards a carry. So it wasn't like he was just slicing them up, but he was getting at least enough room to get through there, get some positive yardage, and it makes downs more manageable. And, the math is pretty simple. If you get 3 yards every time you run the football, you're going to get a first down. So the offensive line getting to a spot where the run game can at least be a threat of some kind is going to be beneficial for the rest of the K-State offense. And now I think it's going to be fascinating to see kind of how things play out. Now that I think this team knows and understands that based off of the way they ran the ball the last 3 weeks.
Now I want to go back to overarching the last 3 games as a whole. What would you say has been the best position group? Is it as simple as Avery Johnson at quarterback, or would you point somewhere else on the team?
I don't think it's been Avery. He's played kind of just like his whole season. He's played fine to well and hasn't been the problem for this team, but he was a little like off kilter against TCU and made the catastrophic error against Baylor. They've been really good this season, but I think the receivers I want to mention in some way just because they keep making plays at the right time, and we're seeing more and more flashes of just putting them in positions to make plays downfield. And I think K-State probably needs to take some more shots. And it's unfortunate that they've worked out to basically what expectations were for them this season because everything else has been so bad or underperforming. But I'm trying to me, maybe the thing that's been the most consistent in this process has probably been the receivers, because I think you could go a number of places, but the games have been so inconsistent or bad mistakes at one point or the other. Like, I think the tight ends have been okay, but Garrett Oakley continues to have at least 1 or 2 head-scratching drops in every game. As we mentioned with Avery, he's got that problem. And the defense, they're just kind of bouncing up and down each group with their performance. So the receivers have been the most steady, and they're the guys that I probably trust the most on the team right now when they're healthy.
Mason Voth of K-State Online is our guest. One more question before we take a break, and it was a player that you just mentioned, Garrett Oakley, and he did have another drop against TCU, but those 2 touchdowns, and he's been by far the most consistent tight end this year in terms of the production week in, week out. What did you see from him this last game? Is that going to be the Oakley that we see the rest of the season?
Well, it's interesting, and this is an area where he's probably getting some help in how his game can perform because he's got more than one legitimate receiver on the field with him at a time. So the passing game is a little bit more opened up, and attention has to be diverted elsewhere. But yeah, I think he's proven now that you're going to get a pretty consistent, 40, 50 yards and a touchdown or somewhere in that neighborhood some combination of playing well like that. And I think at this stage, K-State's just going to have to live with the fact that he's going to make one or two really bad drops. And you just hope that you've done enough at other points in the game, or he's going to make up for it, and it's not going to cost you. Because right now, I'm more apt to think that, next weekend or something, there's going to be a crucial third down, and he has it, and then it pops out of his hands or something. But you think about the second touchdown catch that he had against TCU, like that more than wipes out a drop because he made a pretty nice grab. So he's turned into a very good tight end, but I still think that there's something out there to where he could go to another level.
Mason Voth of K-State Online is our guest. We'll have more with Mason after these words on News Radio KMAN.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the game.
You, my friend, are in the game on News Radio KMAN.
At the game!
Can you help me access my work computer now that I'm working from home?
We can do that.
Is it possible for you to troubleshoot my computer without me coming into your store?
We can do that.
I'm getting messages that my password's been compromised by hackers.
We can.
And that I have malware installed.
We can.
I don't even go to the mall.
We can do all of that.
Fox Business Systems business level support. We can do that.
Call 776-1452 or stop by 531 Fort Riley Boulevard. WeBuildSolutions.com.
In Manhattan, building community means more than bricks and beams. It means innovation and partnership. At McCown Gordon Construction, we deliver feature-focused solutions to projects that shape our region. From advanced research labs to vibrant education, healthcare, and community hubs. We're not just building projects, we're building the future of the Flint Hills with unmatched customer experience and value-driven strategies. We're building for tomorrow. Visit kansas.mccown-gordon.com.
Spice up your event with Qdoba Catering. Our burrito bowls, nachos, and salads will taste oh so delicioso with juicy smoked brisket and adobo marinated grilled chicken. Fresh fajita veggies and hand-smashed guac will add a burst of flavor to your meal. Place your order today. Qdoba, united by flavor.
Featured team with a Qdoba tailgate pack. Touchdown with our nacho bar. Get your game day rolling with a 10-pack of burritos. Or snack for the win with chips and queso or hand-smashed guac. Order online or give us a call.
I'm Brad Jones, owner of Home of the Flint Hills, where every day is designed with you in mind. We offer a warm, secure, and inspiring home for seniors where independence is honored and your choices always comes first. Experience beautiful, private residences filled with luxurious amenities and a dedicated team of compassionate caregivers. At Home of the Flint Hills, we're more than just a senior living community. We're a place where you're respected, empowered, and free to live life your way. Enjoy the comfort of staying in one place as your needs grow. That's true age-in-place living. Visit homeoftheflinthills.com to schedule your tour today.
I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. 6 weeks into the NFL season, and one thing is clear, we don't have a great team. The parity this year is striking. Every time a team looks ready to take the mantle as the NFL's alpha, they stumble. The Bills, fresh off a shocking loss to the Falcons, and the Lions knocked off by the Chiefs Sunday night. The Ravens, once a trendy Super Bowl pick, are 1-5. Even the Philadelphia Eagles look like they've lost their identity. Even the 5-1 Buccaneers are doing it with duct tape. No Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Emeka Ibuka, all banged up. This is what makes the NFL so great. None of the elite franchises feel safe. No powerhouse feels inevitable. Every Sunday feels like chaos. And right now, there's no clear-cut favorite. The NFL is wide open this season, and all that's left to see is which team finally seizes control of the season, defined by balance and unpredictability, which is what the NFL wants. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month. LifeLock is here with tips to help protect your identity. Use strong passwords, set up multi-factor authentication, report scams, and update your software. And for comprehensive identity protection, LifeLock is your best choice. LifeLock alerts you to suspicious uses of your personal information and fixes identity theft, guaranteed, or your money back. Start your protection today with a 30-day free trial at lifelock.com. Use promo code NEWS. Terms apply.
I'm Gavin Hyatt with a Game Sports Update brought to you by Bottle Cap Sports Bar. Following its second consecutive NCAA tournament appearance and a record-breaking 17 conference wins, K-State baseball and 8-year head coach Pete Hughes have announced the Wildcats' complete 2026 schedule. The season officially gets underway on February 13th and features 26 home games at Toynton Family Stadium. K-State Director of Track and Field / Cross Country Travis Geffert announced on Wednesday the final additions to the 2025-26 roster. The final signing group of the year includes 14 athletes with 6 freshmen and 8 transfers. In his first year leading the program, Geffert and his staff have recruited a total of 53 student athletes. Transfers include Aaliyah Foster, a transfer from Texas who is a 4-time NCAA All-American in the long jump in her 2 seasons with the Longhorns, and Devin Loudermilk, a graduate transfer from Kansas who is a 3-time NCAA first-team All-American and 4-time All-Big 12 finisher in high jump. The Dodgers are now up 2-0 on the Brewers in the National League Championship Series. Max Muncy and Teoscar Hernandez homered for LA, who will host games 3 and 4 in the best-of-7 series starting tomorrow night. This is the first time since 1970 that both League Championship Series road teams have started 2-0. We'll have the Mariners and the Blue Jays on K-Man following the Chris Kyman Show, which starts at 7 p.m. tonight.
You know, I'm not as quite as good with Mitch in terms of the knowledge of the beds, but I like it. Whatever is playing, I enjoy it. Completely forgot to mention this. If you want to call or text the show, 785-537-1350, and we'll try to take care of your questions, concerns. I know, we're a young lot today here in the studio. Cole Dutchendorf, Toby Hamas, and across the glass, Gavin Hyatt. We get back to our guest, Mason Voth from K-State Online. Mason, do you know how track and field recruiting rankings work? I was trying to see, I don't know if there was a website where I can go, like On3, for example, for football, for track and field. K-State said they have the top-ranked recruiting class. I'll go with that, but I don't know anything more than that.
Yeah, I'll just blindly believe him because I have zero idea. My concern is, I know it's not even a concern. I won't even say it's a concern. This is more me wanting to criticize the recruiting industry when it comes to specialists like kickers, punters, and long snappers. They all say they're 5 stars. They have their own recruiting service, and it's like, we made you a profile. You're a 5-star. There you go. And it's like, I'm a 5-star long snapper. It's like, no, you're not. You got here. You barely cracked the lineup. You finally get to go out there, and you're skipping balls back there to the holder. You're skipping balls to the punter. Like, you weren't no 5-star. So, I have no idea how it works, but good for them. Let's see it to believe it, but non-spectator sports, not really my jam. I like to stick to the things that put butts in the seats.
You know, until I hear something otherwise about K-State track and field, I'm rolling with it. The best team in the nation from here on out. Back to football. I'll ask you the same question we talked about on the show yesterday. Are you feeling better about the Sunflower Showdown given how K-State has played over the last 3 games and then maybe even more specifically against TCU?
Yeah, I am, but I've maybe been a little bit different, and it's not anything to do with football reasons. I've never really been worried about it at all because as we know, there's only been one certainty in America over the last 16 years, and it's that K-State's going to beat KU in football. And so until the streak ends, why would you assume otherwise? And I also looked at it from the standpoint of, almost every year it's probably been the response of KU people to be like, well, it can't get any worse. We always lose to them. How's it going to hurt? Well, the last 2 years, K-State's found a way to make it hurt more. KU was a drop pick 6 away from just cruising in the game in Lawrence and ending it 2 years ago. And then last year, they have their heart broken with fumbling on their last 2 possessions. And K-State goes from, blowing an opportunity to bust that one open to having to scramble to get back into the game and win it. And the only way that K-State could make it hurt more and make it be even funnier was the most underachieving K-State football team of all time, having the worst season of Kleiman's career, rolls into Lawrence and beats them. So I've never been like of the mindset that K-State was going to lose that game. They certainly could. But now that they're playing better, we have a legitimate reason to think that they could win the game because these teams are playing to a similar level. But I think you'd rather have how K-State's looked the last 3 weeks in Kansas because KU's defense is a little concerning.
I think you're 100% right. I think it would be absolutely comical if the way that these two seasons have gone, if K-State would be able to roll in and take it to KU and come home with another win and make it at least 18 years since KU has beaten K-State. Another question I want to ask, it's one we're going to get into later today on the show in hour number 2. Who are some players who either need to continue to step up or need to step up that maybe haven't been put in those roles as much this season for K-State to continue to have the success that they've had over the last 3 Big 12 games?
Well, I think you're in a spot now where with the uncertainty of Toby Sami, it definitely looks like he's not going to play against Kansas, and I mean, there's a good chance that he's done for the year. You're looking at the defensive end. So Cody Stufflebean's had a modest season, and he's going to make the right play for you. I don't know that you could ever anticipate him being a playmaker. So then I start to look around, and I think that a guy like Chidi Iser probably needs to step up and become your best pass rusher. It's going to put a little bit more stress on the linebackers. We saw Des Purnell get a sack over the weekend. I think you're going to expect maybe some more from them and what they can give effort-wise in the pass rushing department. So that's where I would go on defense, and you want the corners to kind of continue playing like they did against TCU. Offensively, I think it's about continuing to see Avery Johnson's growth. I think he's been a better quarterback this year than he was last year. It just hasn't all come together in each game to where you go, yep, that was a 100%, no doubt about it, great performance. Like the closest it came was Baylor, and he's on the hook for the pick 6 that cost K-State the game. So he needs to go out, and I think he still has it in him to play his best game of his career this year, where you're going to get the game where he's running, he's throwing perfect, and he's not making mistakes. And so he probably is going to have to carry a lot of it now, especially with Dylan Edwards' uncertainty, because Joe Jackson is playing better, but Joe Jackson isn't like an explosive running back, and you can't kind of hinge your offense on what he's going to be able to provide for you. And then those receivers have to keep Jace Brown, when he's been out there, has been automatic. Jerron Tibbs is making big plays. Jerron Bradley, when he can be out there, has been helpful to the cause. So those are really the guys that I look at offensively that need to keep it going.
Mason Voth of K-State Online is our guest. Mason, the next time we talk to you, believe it or not, K-State men's basketball will have played their first regular season game of the year. How are you feeling about this roster, about this team, about this coaching staff less than 21 days out?
I feel pretty good about them this year. The only concern would be the size. They are definitely going to be undersized, and really the only player that provides it is Durham Buka, and I've got questions about if he's going to be able to be a guy worth playing at even 15 minutes a game, 10 minutes a game when you get into Big 12 play. But if you take that out of it, I think you have more than anything a much more headstrong team this year. And we learned last season that that's really important for the success of these teams, is you have to have guys that want to buy into it together and also will listen and accept the coaching that they're getting. Because while I think there are legitimate criticisms of Jerome Tang and his coaching staff, they have shown that when they have the players that are in it for them and will respond, they're going to get close to the maximum value out of them. Obviously, that was clear in the Elite Eight season. But then even the second year, like, they were dealt tough hands, no Naquan Tomlin, no Quez Glover, like two major rotational pieces that you weren't going to have on your team. And they still almost made it to the NCAA tournament, but you got a lot out of Tyler Perry and some of those other guys. So last year was a total catastrophe. The second year, tough deal. And then, unfortunately, they stacked a really bad year on top of it. But I think this team has that. And then, I mean, on the high end, I think PJ Haggerty and Andre Kostic are going to be phenomenal players for K-State this season. And they've got a good nucleus of guys that are going to fall behind them 3, 4, 5, 6 that I kind of believe in as well.
What I want to do from you next is get one player who's a returner, one who is a transfer or from Europe that are flying under the radar that maybe we should be talking about more or that you think could potentially have some breakout seasons.
Well, returners is really tough because there's only, 2 of them? 3? I guess there's 4 technically. I don't know that any of them are going to do anything special or significant for this team this season. I think Moby Ikegaruka, what you got from him last year is exactly what you hope to get out of him this year. I don't know that there's much room for growth in his game. My optimism meter on David Castillo is pretty low after last season. Taj Manning's kind of just going to be a glorified walk-on in the non-walk-on era. So I'm not going to give you an answer on the returners because I don't think
it's fair.
There's a valuable answer there. But Nate Johnson is the one that I would go for on the newcomer end because obviously Haggerty and Kostic are the headliners. But I think Nate Johnson's value to this team is going to be incredibly significant because when you're talking about dudes that have the right mindset, he would be the embodiment of it. He's going to be a veteran leader that you need, but also the fact that a guy can be the player of the year in his conference and also win defensive player of the year tells me that he's not going to take anything off. He's going to go about it in the absolute best way possible. And I think, Desi Sills wasn't the best player on that Elite 8 team. He wasn't even one of the 3 best players on that team. But you could make a legitimate argument that he was just as important in terms of what he brought value-wise to the team as Marquise and Keontae. Like, I would throw him in the same category as them because of he played hard, played great defense, and I think you're going to get that out of Nate Johnson.
I think one player that's intriguing that we haven't mentioned yet is Abdi Bashir, and he's obviously not going to have the same role that he had at Monmouth last season. It's not going to be just chucking up 30 shots a game, but that kind of shooter, that kind of offensive player, if you can get any kind of defense out of him, which they struggled to do at Monmouth last year, and you would think, it's a Jerome Tang-led team, defense typically hasn't been an issue, he could be a pretty intriguing third member of that backcourt.
Yeah, I'm going to be interested to see how it looks and how he fits in to a team where it's not just, hey, we're terrible, go out there, chuck it. Our best chance is letting you try to score, 40 points on 38 shots tonight. So I'm going to be interested to see how he fits in, but I'm optimistic for what he can bring. The shooting, I don't think, should be a problem for him. It's just how does he kind of fit into a team that the competition's higher on a nightly basis and you're playing for a much higher goal than 10th place and the Patriot League or whatever Monmouth's hanging around in right now.
We went over the schedule release in terms of television programs and times and calculated it out. It's like $400-ish for all of the subscription services over the next 6 months. Are you going to fork out that cash to watch this team on everywhere that you need to be able to watch them on?
So to me, it doesn't feel like as big of a deal on that. I mean, like my YouTube TV, which I do gripe about the price increase that they've delivered. I first subscribed to YouTube TV when I was a senior in college, and I think it was like $50 a month, and now it's up to like $83 a month, which is just insane. But that's going to get me all the linear games, and then ESPN Plus, significant, but you kind of have to have it if you're a Big 12 fan. I find a lot of value in it. And now that I've got 2 kids, the Disney bundle with it is beneficial. So, that's a non-negotiable in the house. And then, Peacock, that I'm a golf fan, and I love the Olympics. So, every so often, I'm going to need it for U.S. Open, British Open, and Olympics. So, whenever I can get a deal there, I grab it. So, I already have Peacock. I'm not going to have to sign up for anything new to get it. I'm not concerned about it. And the good news is, if you want to cut one, if you're a K-State fan, cut ESPN Plus out of the equation once football season ends, because there's only going to be one Big 12 game that's not on, one of those other ones that'll be on Plus, but it's a home game, so you can get to Bramlage and watch it in person.
Mason Voth from K-State Online is our guest. Couple more questions. One thing on the television, do you enjoy having it on Fox and CBS more? One thing that Mitch and I talked about yesterday is it feels like they just put a little bit more effort in when it's those, it's not the big marquee matchups, but it's still games that mean a lot to the fans.
Yeah, no, I think it's beneficial. Obviously, those two broadcast TV, you don't even have to pay for it if you don't want to. Just go out and get a $15 antenna. And you're good to go, like I had to a couple weeks ago when we moved in and didn't have internet yet. So I think those are great. It just adds a big-time feel to it. The guys calling the game, they're going to be notable names in that space. Like, it's going to feel big time. And then on top of that, that's why I think the additions of CBS Sports Network and Peacock to the rotation for the Big 12 are so important, because they treat those random Tuesday night games between Team 11 and Team 15 in the Big 12 like it's the most important game out there. You go to halftime, they're actually talking about that game. Pregame is devoted to, this team that's about to play, not, oh, look, there's this top 25 matchup happening this weekend. So I think there's more value in playing on the Fox and CBS properties than there is on the ESPN ones anymore.
And last question for you, Mason. You mentioned you were in the moving process last time we talked to you. Did that go smoothly? I know moving can be pretty stressful.
For the most part. But like I mentioned, AT&T did screw us on internet. They said they'd be out, the Friday after we moved in to install it. Then we got a call the night before at 6 o'clock saying, oh, actually, we're not set up to provide that type of internet to that spot yet. So we went about a week without internet. Switch providers, so we're doing a lot better now. So we're close to 100% in the new house, but it was touch and go there for a little bit.
Well, Mason, we appreciate your time as always, and we'll talk to you in a couple weeks.
All right, sounds good. We'll see you.
That's Mason Voth of K-State Online, and make sure to head on over to K-State Online. Always doing great work on their website. All things K-State all the time. Mason, Derek, and Drew. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk to voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus. A lot to talk about because the Chiefs look dang good on Sunday night against the Lions. That's after these words on News Radio KMAN.
Your home for K-State sports.
At the buzzer, score the 2, but it's a 1-point win. The 22-game winning streak in Austin is over for the Longhorns. A huge win for Huggins and the Kansas State Wildcats.
This is The Game on News Radio KMAN.
It's hard to understand people on TV, so you use closed caption because you can't understand or hear them. Guess what? You don't have to live like that. I know because I solved my hearing loss with the help of hearing aids from Focus Hearing, a locally owned hearing center that offers all major brands. They accept all Medicare plans and have better pricing than the national franchises. Let Focus Hearing let you hear again. 913-380-4200 or online at myfocushearing.com.
Medicare's annual enrollment is here, October 15th through December 7th. It's your chance to review or change your prescription drug plan. Premiums, copays, and even which medications are covered can change every year. Don't risk paying more or having your prescriptions left out. I'm Malia McKinney with L&L Advisors. I'll compare your plans side by side to make sure your medications are covered at the best cost. Local, genuine, and here for you. Call 785-280-9621 today.
Hello, Manhattan. I'm Jamie Minton, and I'm running for Manhattan City Commission. I believe in a Manhattan where businesses grow, families thrive, and our economy is strong. I'm committed to making Manhattan more investment-friendly, simplifying processes, and making decisions that create smart growth and empower our future. I look forward to continuing to serve this community and bring a positive impact to Manhattan. I'd be honored to earn your vote. On November 4th, vote for progress, accountability, and community. Vote Minton for Manhattan. Paid for by Minton for Manhattan, Kevin Lowell, Treasurer.
It's back to school, and Ashley Furniture is helping you gear up in style. Whether it's a new desk for homework time, a comfy bed for a good night's rest, or stylish storage to keep it all organized, we've got what you need at unbeatable prices. Locally owned and operated, we're proud to serve the Manhattan community with furniture for every room and every budget. Come see us today at Ashley Furniture, 200 Starber Lane in Manhattan. Your home, your style, your Ashley.
Manhattan's West Side.
Flint Hills Job Corps. Careers begin here.
KS State Bank, convenient banking for over 50 years. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
The Flint Hills Association of Realtors, serving Flint Hills and beyond. Is your agent a realtor?
Visit some old friends, discover some new. Come home to West Loop and Manhattan's West Side.
Attention homeowners! Are you looking to enhance the curb appeal and protect your home? Buck Roofing Company has been serving Kansas for almost 20 years. They are the go-to experts in premium siding solutions with new LP siding or James Harding options. Your home will stand out while being protected against the elements. Call their office for a free, no-obligation estimate today, 785-230-9379. Buck Roofing, where quality and professionalism come first.
Hi, I'm Carla Hagemeister with Flint Hills Breadbasket. Food insecurity is growing in our community. In 2023, over 16% of Riley County residents were food insecure, and we are serving more people today than ever before. The people we serve are your neighbors, your students, your employees, your family, and your friends. The need for help has gone from 400 families a week to 600 families and is still growing. You can donate food, money, and your time to help your neighbors. Visit FlintHillsBreadBasket.org today to join our efforts to ensure that everyone has access to the healthy food they need to thrive.
When severe weather rolls in, every second counts, and we're here to keep you ahead of the storm. Count on us for the latest alerts, live updates, and real-time tracking to help protect you, your family, and your property. From heavy rain and damaging winds to hail and dangerous storms, we'll guide you through the changing conditions and keep you informed when it matters most. Powered by Candlewood Veterinary Clinic, Manhattan Wrecker, Hummel Tree Service, Tallgrass Windows, and Ozone Roofing.
News Radio KMAN weather.
Currently in Manhattan, sunny skies and 85 with winds gusting as high as 21 miles an hour. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low of around 61. Sunny with a high near 82 tomorrow, with winds that can gust as high as 25 miles an hour in the afternoon. Tomorrow night, partly cloudy with a low of around 63. Friday, a 40% chance of showers and thunderstorms are likely, and partly sunny with a high near 80. Friday night as well.
Welcome back to the game. Cole Betschendorf, Toby Hamas to my right, Gavin Hyatt across the glass, getting us situated with Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs, and what a game he got to call on Sunday. These last 3 weeks have been as good as Kansas City has looked offensively at the very least in quite a while, Toby.
Yeah, the biggest thing for me is they've put on these types of performance in the playoffs, but since they had kind of a slow start to the season, you feel like you're seeing that dominance that the Chiefs can put on. You've seen that early in the season this year.
And it's just a cornucopia of weapons to go through. The offensive line that's been playing so well so far this season, and not to be outshined, man, the defense has just been absolutely terrific in this young season. Really, outside of the Chargers game, they've just been fantastic, and it was a very good performance against a very good offense. Now, pleased to be joined by voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus. Sounds like we got maybe some connection issues, so we'll just keep talking about him here for a little bit. Really good offense for the Lions that averaged 40 points per game over the last, I believe it was 4 games going into the Chiefs game, and were just phenomenal all game long. Outside of the first couple drives, you're like, uh-oh, is it going to be one of these nights where it's going to be, take me back to 2018 Rams type performance where it's 54-51 or something like that. And instead, Spags, as he always does, just figures it out.
Yeah, Amon-Ra St. Brown is one of the best weapons in the NFL, I believe, and they really shut him down. I mean, he got his targets, he got his catches, but they really kept Amon-Ra St. Brown from making the big play, and that makes a big difference when you go against a team with as many weapons as the Lions have.
There's quite a few players that we'll specifically point out if we can get Mitch back on, but one that stuck out to me was Noel Williams, and one of the more frustrating parts of the Jaguars game was he had, I believe, 4 snaps after basically 14 snaps in one of the games, and then 14, and then continuing to add more snaps. And do we have Mitch now? Mitch, can you hear me?
I can. Thank you. Yep.
Yes. Okay. So voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus joins us now after some of those connectivity issues. First question out of the gates for you, Mitch. Have you ever seen a QB screen like that before in all of your experience broadcasting football games?
No, and one that was at the end of a 9-minute and 31-second drive, and one that was ended up being an illegal play. No, that's pretty bizarre. I've only been in the league 32 years and only broadcasting about 46 or so, and it's a first. I'll put that one in that file.
There's been a ton of talk about the Chiefs' offense, and rightfully so, after the game, that the defense was absolutely terrific. Held the best scoring offense in the league up to that point. They had averaged 40 over their last 4 games, just 17 points for the Lions. Was that the best game from that unit this season?
Yeah, I think so. I would put the Ravens really closely behind, because the Ravens were performing not at the level the Lions were, but not far from that. But the Lions, not only this year, but it's historic. For 2 years running now, their average point total per game has not been seen in the league since the 1941-42 Chicago Bears of Sid Luckman. So to hold that team to 17 points, now they were willing participants, meaning they burned up 9 minutes and 31 seconds. You can only get one score on a drive. And the fact that the Chiefs were able to then go ahead of them kind of kept some pressure on that offense to maybe look, hey, we got to maybe do a little more juice here. But still, defensively, it was excellent. Pressure, coverage, all 3 levels. The tackling was excellent. If you play the Detroit City Lions and you play the Ravens, you better be able to tackle. I know it sounds 7th grade, but honestly, that was at a premium. And the Chiefs did it from front to back defensively.
And you mentioned front to back. The linebackers specifically is what I want to talk about next. They have been fantastic. I want to talk about Leo specifically today. The one play that stays etched in my mind was him following Amon-Ra across the formation, making that play in space against one of the most dynamic players in the NFL. How impressive was Leo on Sunday?
He's been impressive every week. Honestly, if I rented the old Wareham Theater downtown and we had a night and I showed you video, I would show you weekly where he's making 1 or 2 really exceptional plays. I think he is the most underrated football player on this team. His athleticism is underrated. His ability to be tough and be cerebral all at one time. I just hope that he's a Chief for a long time, because this guy, Leo Chenal, right now is becoming more and more important as the weeks and the games go on.
Jalen Moore, man, ultimate professional. And first of all, thoughts and prayers with Josh Simmons right now. But back to Jalen Moore, stepping up when asked upon and performing quite well against one of the best edge rushers in the league. Just talk us through his ability as a professional to step in like he did and have the kind of game that he had.
Sometimes you go off adrenaline. I don't care at what level you're at. You could be, the Council Grove Braves or the Chiefs or K-State. And when you're called upon, you sometimes just go off reaction and instinct. So Jalen had a child the night before, and then he learns on Sunday morning, really, he's going to be the starter. And, you're also against Aiden Hutchinson. If Hutchinson's moving to the other side, then you're against Al-Qadir Muhammad, who's having a terrific year. Or DJ Reader's on the inside breathing fire. Huge assignment. It's really one of the cooler things I've seen from an offensive lineman. And this offensive line now, I don't think it's a coincidence. The Chiefs, since Xavier Worthy came back, are averaging 32 points a game. And truthfully, I think back-to-back, even the Jacksonville loss, it has been the best sequence of offensive line play since the 2022 season. And then Jalen Moore just fits right in, and he works with Kingsley Suama'atia on that left side. They had to handle combo blocks and blitzes and then timing on screens. It was great. Now, a bigger challenge is if he has to do it again this week, that adrenaline kind of wears off and the instinct, and all of a sudden now you're playing Max Crosby, who studied you all week long and is talking to you all week about, hey, how's that new little baby? And so it'll be a challenge for Jalen if he's indeed had to be called upon.
Voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, is our guest. It's the first time, Mitch, that the Chiefs have scored 28 points or more in 3 consecutive games since 2021. I had to quadruple and quintuple check that to make sure I had that right. This is the best the offense as a whole has looked since when?
I'm going to go back right in there, but you could even go back to 19, and here's why. I'm going to qualify that statement. And the the fact that the red zone has been incredible. 14 of 19 touchdowns since the halftime of the New York Giants game. Now, here's what makes it even better. Of those 14 red zone touchdowns, 8 different players. And now Rashee Rice joins the party. People go, what about a runner? What about a runner? Well, the Chiefs are the only team in the league right now that have 3 guys, Mahomes included, who's over 185 yards rushing, and the only team in the league that has 4 receivers over 225 yards receiving. Now, where are you going with all this, Mitch? Well, the fact that let's just put Rashee Rice into this equation now and let him take off, because you now have the offense you thought you were going to have at the beginning of 2024, and even plus, because then didn't know we'd have Tyquan Thornton to do what he's doing. So you're getting really, really closely to the point where you're going to cause sleepless nights for defensive coordinators.
And you mentioned a guy I was going to ask my next question. What do you see Rice's role as in the offense this week? Full speed ahead or kind of slowly working him back into the offense?
I think probably a little bit of a slower work back. People ask me, what does Rashee Rice do to this offense right now? And I said, well, I think if you had a sounder of breaking news, it would be the Chiefs have just traded for Deebo Samuel in his prime. That's what I think Rice is going to be for this team. That means he'll be effective running, catching while running, and getting yards after contact. Because I just think Rashika, I've seen it, he can do a multiplicity of things. But now he's got help. This is the first time he will play with Xavier Worthy, other than the first 4 games of last year. And it'll be the first time that they will play with Hollywood Brown. And all 3 of them will be together, and Tyquan Thornton. And you still got Kelsey and Brashard Smith, who missed practice today because of illness. But, I mean, if we're getting off the bus at the track, at State Track in Wichita, we might place in the 4x1. We're going to do a bunch of stuff here now with these guys. You're talking attack in every angle. It's a vertical and horizontal attack, but your horizontal attack will be with repeated guys that can run 4-2, 4-3. I don't think the league has that. So all of a sudden now a flip pass end around, a play in front of you, like the fact could be that's turning the edge there is Xavier Worthy, or it's Rashee Rice, or it's Hollywood Brown or Brashard Smith, and these guys all are in the 4-2, 4-3 range. That's where it gets really exciting, because plays that normally would produce 8 to 10 to 12 yards now can produce touchdowns every time someone touches the ball, even on a flip pass or an end around. So it's just really kind of cool to see where this can go.
And then last question, Mitch, voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, our guest. First noon game in quite some time against the Raiders on Sunday. You might finally be able to get to sleep at a decent time after a Chiefs game. I can't.
Our executive producer of the network was joking. He's going to text the league and goes, "Is this even allowed anymore?" Like, I don't even, I mean, I can't imagine not getting off a plane and it's 6 a.m. of the Tuesday the next week. We have had such crazy times and days for really now 2.5 years. It's like Sunday at noon. Like we're going to be done by 5 o'clock. Wow. Okay. Date night. Right. So, yeah, I'm kind of down with it. Let's go. Let's do this. It's kind of like when you have a cat game at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Like this doesn't happen much anymore. So we had a 2:30 kickoff against TCU. That was close. It's like the old Saturday afternoon early game. That's what we're feeling with the old Sunday morning, basically, or Sunday noon game. Yep.
Mitch, we appreciate your time as always, and have a good call on Sunday.
You got it, guys. Thank you.
Voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus. Yeah, we're going to head into hour number 2 here next on the game. Usually getting blasted out on the airwaves a little bit. If you missed all of hour 1 or any of hour 1, head to Spotify. You can also watch us on YouTube. We're live right now. Anywhere you find your podcasts. Once we get this uploaded later this afternoon, talk to Mason Voth of K-State Online, as well as voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus. The Chiefs taking on the Las Vegas Raiders on Sunday at noon. We'll have that coverage here on News Radio KMAN. Still to come in hour number 2, who needs to step up for K-State to continue to have success? The Chiefs rolling back the years offensively, and we'll wrap up with Ask Us Anything.
Home inventory in Manhattan remains tight. A mortgage pre-approval from K-State Credit Union can give you a leg up with sellers, proving you're a serious buyer with the means to purchase a home. With a short phone call or easy online application at kstatecu.com, you can be pre-approved, lock in a fixed rate for up to 60 days, and begin shopping for the home of your dreams. Tell your realtor you'll be using K-State Credit Union to finance your new home. Equal housing lender, insured by NCUA.
Are you prepared for the future? Ensuring your legacy and protecting your loved ones start with estate planning from Adair Law. From wills to trust to powers of attorney, the team at Adair Law will create a personalized plan that reflects your wishes and secures your assets for generations to come. Thinking about the future isn't always easy, but planning your estate can be. With Adair Law, you can protect what matters most, your family and your legacy. Don't leave their future to chance. Secure your peace of mind today with Adair Law. Protecting clients with compassion is what they do. Call 785-776-2000 today.
This fall, Roberts Heating and Cooling wants to honor a veteran in need. Nominate your hometown hero, someone who's made a difference as a soldier and in your community. Each Friday, one will be named Hometown Hero of the Week, winning K-State football tickets from Manhattan Broadcasting, an oil change from Briggs, a $50 R.C. McGraw's gift card, and a t-shirt from Roberts Heating and Cooling. Weekly winners qualify for a full champion furnace and AC replacement, announced on Veterans Day. Nominate now at 1350kman.com. Just click the Hometown Heroes logo. Brought to you by Roberts Heating and Cooling and News Radio KMAN. Restrictions apply. Homeowners only. Equipment must be installed at primary residence and is non-transferable.
Caregiving can be incredibly demanding, and it's easy to feel overwhelmed. Let Leonardville Nursing Home provide you and your loved one with Senior Day services, available Monday through Friday from 9 to 5 with prior arrangements. Run your errands, go to work or appointments while we provide compassionate care for your senior. Our trained, caring staff provides nutritious meals, social activities, and a safe, supporting environment. Contact Leonardville Nursing Home for Senior Day services, an invaluable solution for both caregivers and seniors.
For 61 years, Burnett Automotive has proudly served the community, and now it's time to celebrate. Get a $50 instant rebate on sets of 4 Goodyear tires. Cash back the moment you buy. Add Goodyear's mail-in rebates and save up to $200 total. Plus up to $75 off alignment packages. Choose from 6-month, 3-year, or lifetime options. Visit your nearest store for details. 6 locations in Johnson County and 3 in Manhattan, or online at BurnettAuto.com. All tires, all brands, all services.
Manhattan's first for news, sports, weather, and talk since 1950. This is News Radio KMAN, Manhattan.
CBS News Brief. President Trump has authorized covert CIA operations in Venezuela, blaming it for drug trafficking and sending prisoners and others to the U.S.
I think Venezuela is feeling heat, but I think a lot of other countries are feeling heat too. We're not going to let this country, our country, be ruined because other people want to drop, as you say, their worst. They have given us their worst.
President Trump will meet tomorrow with Ukraine's President Zelensky. Charlie D'Agata reports the president has mentioned providing Ukraine with long-range missiles.
Wants to know how they're going to be used and what they're going to be targeting. Again, no green light on the Tomahawks, but that will be front and center to their discussions tomorrow.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's plane was forced to make an emergency landing in Britain today due to a crack in the windshield. Many journalists at the Pentagon turned in their badges today after refusing to agree to new restrictions. On Wall Street, stocks finished mixed. CBS News Brief, I'm Cammie McCormick.
Now, the latest news from the News Radio KMAN and Manhattan Mercury Newsroom.
Coming up in news, police make arrests in a pair of notable incidents in Junction City and Manhattan. K-State turns its attention to artificial intelligence, and Kansas Young Republicans get shut down. Good Wednesday evening, I'm Luce Marriott. The Kansas Republican Party has shut down its Young Republicans organization after a Politico report revealed racist, anti-Semitic, and violent comments in encrypted group chats involving the group's state chair and vice chair. Politico says Kansas Young Republicans Chair Alex Dwyer and Vice Chair William Hendricks participated in Telegram chats laced with slurs, praise for white supremacist symbols, and jokes about violence. Hendricks was fired from his job in Attorney General Chris Kobach's office after the story broke. State GOP Chair Denidre Herbert called the remarks, quote, inexcusable, and said the organization was immediately deactivated. K-State's third annual AI Symposium started Tuesday morning at Hale Library. The free-to-attend event features a variety of panels, lightning talks, and hands-on AI literacy workshops. Organizers said the goal of the symposium is to bring together academics, industry, and interested citizens to discuss AI research, AI application, and implications of the use of AI for education and society. K-State President Richard Litton gave opening remarks to kick off the event. He said faculty and students are ready to tackle challenges using innovation, collaboration, and in many cases now, AI.
Artificial intelligence is becoming increasingly necessary for our future success. It's transforming the way that we live, learn, work, and solve problems, from agriculture and healthcare to energy and education. By using AI, we can enhance human capability, strengthen industries, and create solutions for our toughest challenges.
The symposium runs through Thursday. A suspect is in custody following a Tuesday evening disturbance in Junction City that injured 3 people. Junction City police arrested 27-year-old Jesse Bailey III Wednesday morning on a charge of aggravated battery in connection to an incident in the 800 block of South Washington Street. Police say 2 others, including Bailey, were transported to the local hospital for injuries ranging from blunt force trauma to stab wounds. None of the injuries were considered life-threatening. The names of the others involved have not been released, and police are continuing to investigate. Raleigh County Police say a Manhattan man has been arrested in connection with Saturday's shooting at a northeast Manhattan apartment complex that left a 35-year-old man with multiple gunshot wounds. Officers say 38-year-old Jaquise Tolliver turned himself in Tuesday and was booked into the Raleigh County Jail on charges of attempted first-degree murder, aggravated assault, and criminal discharge of a firearm. He's being held on a $1 million bond, and RCPD says the investigation is ongoing. It's officially election season, with advanced voting both in person and by mail now underway in Kansas. While mail balloting has come under scrutiny over the past few years from some Republicans, Raleigh County Clerk Rich Vargo continues to be a strong proponent.
And we have a lot of retirees that travel, and they're just not here. A lot of the people that go to warmer climates have already left this time of year, but they're registered to vote here. And so that is really the only way for them to participate.
Vargo says voting participation tends to be higher during presidential election cycles, noting a 21.5% turnout in the previous city school board's election cycle in 2023, compared to 61% in last year's presidential election.
I highly encourage people to come and participate in these local elections. They don't get all the fanfare of the presidential election, but I think the turnout's just the opposite of what it should be for the higher participation.
Advanced voting continues through noon on November 3rd. And finally, Manhattan is experiencing abnormally dry conditions and is on the fringe of drought. K-State meteorologist Chip Redmond says Manhattan is on the downward swing and running 6 to 7 inches below normal in terms of precipitation over the past 6 months.
I mean, we still are on the downward swing. We get close to our drier time of the year, or driest time of the year. We still need over a half inch, about 0.6 of an inch of rain a week to keep up with normal. And with the Manhattan area only seeing about a half inch of rain, granted it fell nice and slow and the way we want rain to fall, we still ended up below average for this week.
According to the National Weather Service, Manhattan averages 1.3 inches of precipitation in October, but has only recorded 7,500ths this month. This has been your 5 p.m. news update. I'm Lewis Marion. Weather forecast plus hour 2 of the game with Toby, Cole, and Gavin is up next.
K-Man News brought to you by L&L Advisors. Local, genuine, and here for you.
News Radio KMAN weather.
Currently in Manhattan, sunny skies and 84, with winds breezing to the south at 13 miles an hour. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low of around 61. Tomorrow, sunny with a high near 82, with winds that could gust as high as 25 miles an hour in the afternoon. Thursday night, partly cloudy with a low of around 63. Friday, partly sunny with a high near 80, with a 40% chance of showers and thunderstorms, and winds that can gust as high as 20 miles an hour.
KMAN is brought to you by Sunset Zoo. Purchase your tickets for Boo at the Zoo happening the 24th through the 26th at sunsetzoo.com.
Hour 2 of the game after work. Cole Dutchendorf, Toby Hummus to my right, and Gavin Hyatt across the glass. The game brought to you by Bottle Cap Sports Bar tomorrow, karaoke. Toby, what's your go-to karaoke song?
Ooh, the only song I feel like I know word for word, bar for bar, is Baby by Justin Bieber, so I'll go with that.
Hey, that's a great selection, Gavin. Do you have any go-to karaoke songs that you like to sing?
I I don't really know. You know, like the Katy Perry. What's the song called on the Friday song?
Last Friday Night.
Yeah. That's
fantastic
a go-to.
song.
That's
fantastic
a go-to.
song. My go-to is "Hey There, Delilah" by the Plain White T's. It's right in the wheelhouse. It's one that the crowd loves. Also at Bottle Caps this weekend, Kendall Eugene going to be performing, and again karaoke tomorrow. And make sure you're watching K-State home games when they're there. It's one of the most electric spots in Manhattan. The Chiefs going to be playing on Sunday. Head to Bottle Caps and enjoy some Kansas City, hopefully taking it right to the Raiders. We'll talk a little bit more about the Chiefs later on in hour number 2, about all of the success that they have had offensively this season. But first up, we mentioned this question to Mason earlier in the show. Who are some players who need to step up for K-State to continue the success that they've had over the last couple of games? They've been as good as any team in the Big 12 over the last 3 games. And again, you go back to that Baylor game, if they find a way to pull that one out, you're looking at this season a whole lot differently than you currently are. I understand they didn't, and you can't just erase that result. But even in that game, they looked a lot better against the Bears than they did against Arizona or Navy or really even Iowa State to a certain degree. So, Toby, we'll start with you. We'll go 3 each. Who are some players who need to step up or who might get the chance to step up because of either injury or just haven't played a ton so far this year over the course of the rest of the season that could, I saw a graphic that K-State still has a 0.2% chance to make the CFP. Who are some players who need to step up to make that happen?
Yeah, to start things off, I'm looking at a guy that doesn't necessarily need to step up, but that I'd like to see step up, and that's Lincoln Cure. He obviously had a slow start to the season, battling injuries. He didn't get those reps that are so crucial for a freshman in fall camp. So slow start there. Still getting to learn the offense as a true freshman. But I would just love to see the explosiveness because we heard all of the stories from Goodland, Kansas, just what this kid can do. And I'd love to see it play out on the field. He had a season-high 16 snaps against TCU, and I'd like to see that number continue to grow. You may say, hey, Toby, you're crazy. You got 2 really tall, strong receivers in Jace Brown, or I guess J.B. Bradley mostly with the height, but you got 3 dudes at wide receiver with Jerron Tibbs, J.B. Bradley, Jace Brown, and then even at tight end, you got a list of guys that contribute. Garrett Oakley's been doing great. So you may think, why does Lincoln Cure need to step up? But I point to the last time K-State had such a high recruit in state with Avery Johnson. When he was a true freshman, he went down to Lubbock and scored 5 touchdowns. Even though he wasn't the starting quarterback, he wasn't the guy, he still had an impact. I think when you have a top-level talent like you do with Lincoln Cure, if you can get him usage like they did with Avery Johnson his freshman year, I think it could be explosive.
And you got to think Lincoln's just itching to get onto the field in a more impactful way. I love to see them just throw a tight end screen and just get him in space because he's just a different kind of athlete. My younger brother played Lincoln Cure in what was actually Cure's final high school game in the playoffs in 3A, and his final stat line was like 11 catches, 250 yards, like 5 touchdowns in terms of receiving, and I think he threw for 1 and ran for 1. He's just a different type of athlete. If they can get him the ball in some space and maybe kind of take away some of the thinking that he actually has to do, then it just becomes second nature, and I would love to see some more Lincoln Cure over the course of the rest of the season.
And maybe not necessarily throwing passes, but just catching passes.
Yes, I'm okay if he doesn't throw it anymore this season, although even in the moment, didn't hate the play call, hate the result, obviously, and probably should have just dirted that one, but I enjoyed the creativity to a certain extent. But I'm with you. Let's keep the ball out of his hands, rolling and dropping back. We're okay with that. One that I want to go to, and this is kind of a 2-part answer, Joe Jackson / Dylan Edwards. And I threw Dylan in there because if he's playing, again, we've seen this team is just different. It's just a different beast offensively when Dylan Edwards is healthy and available to play. But we don't really know what that entirely looks like. Ankle injuries are extremely nagging. They're going to continue. Basically, as long as he continues to try to play, it's going to continue to bug him. This is not going to be something that would be fixed until the end of the season where you actually have time to thoroughly rest it. So that's kind of an obvious one if he's able to come back, Dylan Edwards, but also Joe Jackson. The running game needs to be positive, and we've seen Joe have really good games now in back-to-back weeks. I believe now it's back-to-back weeks with over 100 yards from scrimmage. I think he had around 70 rushing yards against Baylor with 30 or so through the air, and then a full game of over 100 rushing yards against TCU. If he can continue to do what he's done the last couple of weeks, and especially what the offensive line has been doing the last couple of weeks, you feel much better because you're not one-dimensional where, you can run play action on first down and actually have some space to work on the perimeter, because you don't have teams that are just daring you, to run. They have to sell out to stop the run a little bit more. So we'll see what that looks like. Again, this is Dylan Edwards if he's able to come back from that nagging ankle injury, and Joe Jackson if not, because if Dylan isn't, it's obviously a full workload on Joe's shoulders, and hopefully he can just continue the pace that he's had the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. For the second guy I'll go to, the first guy, Lincoln Cure, I went to, I mentioned he had injuries that slowed the start to the season down for him. Second guy, kind of a similar stance with Malcolm Alcorn Crowder.
Beast.
Yeah, he's been really good the past few weeks. He's been a huge addition to the defensive line. Last week he had more snaps than both Damian and Uso on the defensive line. Yeah.
Crazy.
The impact he's making is huge, and so maybe it's not necessarily he needs to step up, but just continue to excel like he's been doing recently.
And he has been a much-needed breath of fresh air on the defensive tackle position, because that's a spot it's really easy to get worn down, and especially as much as Uso and Damian were playing early in the season. I know we saw Damian, he was hobbled at one point in the TCU game. I don't think we've heard anything since then. That's when you can have a third guy in there who can take some of that stress off of your shoulders. That's a huge, huge positive. So if he can continue to play the way that he's playing, that'll be massive for this defense, and especially up front when you're missing a guy like Toby Osunsami. Second guy I want to go to is Zayshawn Rich, and the cornerbacks, Mason talked about them, they've been better over the last couple of games, but there's still been that explosive play, and a couple of them in that last game were on Zayshawn. He's still been a fine cornerback. Remember, this is the first true starter he's been in his young career, and super young, and kind of learning it as he goes. I still think he's a very talented player who has had some really good reps over the course of this season. It's been a little bit of a struggle against TCU, but I think if he can, flip some of those explosive plays from happening, he's been exactly what K-State needs out of him, and having some of that coverage on the back end be a little bit more solidified down the stretch against some teams that can really fling the ball around the yard, like a KU, for example, you're gonna be feeling pretty confident about what K-State could do to the back half of their Big 12 schedule, because there's some teams that they could really lock down in the secondary.
Yeah, absolutely. For my third guy, it's not necessarily one guy that I'm looking at here, but the offensive line in general. It's hard to single anyone out because the unit has been progressively getting better these last few weeks, but that continued development of the offensive line I think is key. I look at a guy like Taylor Portier, who's been here for
sure
6-7 years now. Sorry, didn't mean to do that. But Taylor Portier, he's a veteran presence on that line. If he can be like a guy like Cody Stoppelbein, who Mason mentioned as just a guy who's been a net positive. He's not necessarily flashy, but if Taylor Portier can be that on the offensive line, that would be huge for the group.
And as Mason talked about, as you just said, the offensive line has been much better as of late. They've just been, pushing the line of scrimmage farther down the field, as opposed to, it felt like they were getting pushed around a little bit in the beginning of the season. So if they can continue their forward momentum, not only literally, but also just as the past couple of games have gone, I think that bodes well for this team down the stretch, because it's just unlocks a completely different part of the offense if they can run the ball with consistency and continue to pick up chunk plays. Because you saw at the beginning of the year, they're getting pushed back on first and second down. They're making it 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, where it's these type of situations where, yes, they can convert, and they have converted in those spots. It's just a tough spot to come out of. Last one that I want to go to, it's a player who was talked about a lot in the beginning of the season. It's a similar theme to your first two guys who were banged up a little bit in the beginning of the year and then kind of working their way back into the lineup. It's Ryan Davis. He was, again, talked about a lot in the beginning of the season. A lot of players and a lot of coaches were like, watch out for him this year. And you haven't necessarily seen that next step taken, but now he has more of a chance. Toby is out. You need someone to step up specifically on the defensive line, and even more specifically at the defensive end position. Why not Ryan Davis? He's going to get more snaps than he's had all season long. You saw it already against TCU. And there's going to be some quarterbacks who, if you can get some pressure on them, you're going to have success as a defense. You can, again, we've seen Jalen Daniels against KU, or against K-State, fold a little bit under pressure. So if you can put guys in his face like a Ryan Davis who can give you some of those extra snaps and some fresh legs off of the bench, I think that's going to bode well for your defense down the stretch.
Yeah, why not Ryan Davis? Like you said, the defense, you can't expect someone like Des Purnell to come out here and have a Big 12 Defensive Player of the Week every single week. You can't expect 2 picks and a sack from one guy, but why not Ryan Davis stepping up and making some big plays for this team?
And one thing I would just quickly, it's not like another 3 guys, it's just the veterans who you expected to rely on, like an Austin Romaine, like a VJ Payne, you're going to need them to step up as well. But what I wanted to focus on more in this one was maybe guys who you weren't necessarily expecting to be like the guys. I mean, outside of Zayshawn Rich probably looking at this list, or obviously we talked about Dylan Edwards. But if some of these guys can step up and up their game, but also just continue some of the momentum that they've already been bringing. Again, the offensive line had probably their best game of the year against TCU, and Zayshawn Rich has continued to get better as a player. Joe Jackson has been a heck of a player. If they can continue that momentum, they're getting closer to what you thought K-State could be in the beginning of the year when there were so many expectations, and that's part of why the 3-4 start, the 2-4 start has been so frustrating, because you know what kind of talent this team has. You've seen it in spots. You've seen it, at times, even against Iowa State, you saw how good this team could be. You saw it, the third quarter against North Dakota, when they treated North Dakota like they should have treated North Dakota for all 4 quarters. You've seen it against now UCF, even Baylor to a point, and against TCU. If you can see that moving forward, make it 17 straight in the Sunflower Showdown, and then who knows? You're welcome in Texas Tech to town. You never know. Crazier things have happened, and then at that point you're like, uh-oh. I mean, watch out, because remember last year the Big 12 championship was a 4-way tie for first place at 7-2 in conference play. I'm not saying they're going to make the Big 12 championship, but I'm not saying they're not.
Yeah. And I'm going back to our argument here. I would go say maybe X Factor is the better term.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, X Factor for the rest of the season, because you've seen a guy like Avery Johnson just be consistently the guy for the offense, and you don't want him to have that weight like he had last year. It felt like at times he was just carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. You don't want him to have to feel that way this year.
Expect a Garrett Oakley, a Jace Brown to perform every week. You expect at this point, because of how good he's been, you expect a Luis Rodriguez to perform every single week. It's some of these guys that maybe you don't talk about enough that K-State will need to step up if they want to make one of the greatest turnarounds ever. I mean, we've seen K-State teams start slow and finish strong before. We'll see if that can happen. I'm not saying they're going to Arlington. That would be counting the chickens well before they have hatched, but you never know when they can go beat the chickens on the road in a couple of weeks and then start the season anew, and bring some positive momentum back to Manhattan. Well, when we come back, I mean, Toby's on the show. We're going to do it. We're going to talk about the Chiefs. The Chiefs' offense, man. They've been rolling the years back offensively, the best they've looked in some time. And I think, honestly, I get like the whole rankings and standings and whatever. They've been the best team in the league as of Sunday night, after they pummeled the Lions and after you saw what the Bills did on Monday night. I'm excited to talk about it if you can't tell. That's next on The Game.
I started the Maine Frisbee Golf Club at Cornell.
The Game.
This is madness.
News Radio KMAN.
Whether it's game day or a night out with great live music, Bottle Cap Sports Bar delivers the atmosphere you're looking for. It's Manhattan's go-to spot for catching every Wildcats or Chiefs game and enjoying live music that plays the songs you actually know. Come early for a good seat, great music, and cold drinks served up right. Stay in the loop. Check out their Facebook page for the full schedule of events. Bottle Caps, where the music's live, the game's always on, and the vibe is just right.
Bottle Cap Sports Bar located on West Anderson across from Dairy Queen.
American Family Insurance.
At American Family Insurance, your small business is a big deal to us. You face challenges and you work hard to achieve your goals. As your American Family agent and business owner right here in your community, I've faced that too. I've built my business with the vision of helping you protect yours. Contact us today to see how we can protect what you've worked so hard to build with customized coverage that fits your needs. This is Rob Wild, agent at Wild & Associates, LLC.
American Family Mutual Insurance Company, SI, and its operating company, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
Hi, I'm Scott Seal, candidate for City Commission. If you're like me, you're tired of politicians making promises that sound nice but don't add up, like running for student council promising pop in the drinking fountains. Lately, we've seen candidates and even some city commissioners more focused on appealing to their supporters than making the tough, responsible decisions for our community. I'm not here to play political games. I'm here to solve problems bring people together, and get things done for our city. Paid for by Scott Seal for City Commission, Cheryl Grice, Treasurer.
Fall into the season at Blueville Nursery. Add a pop of fall color to your porch with mums, annuals, and pumpkins. Cooler temperatures make fall a perfect time to plant, and we have a great selection of trees, shrubs, and perennials. September through October is the perfect time to seed cool season lawns. Don't forget to add Fertilome New Lawn Starter to get an extra boost. Plant fall bulbs in October to get an early dose of color next spring. Blueville Garden Store is open Monday through Saturday, 8 to 5. Come give us a visit at Blueville Nursery, where you'll always find a friendly smile and expert advice. Located at the corner of Scenic Drive in Anderson and Manhattan.
Meadowlark's 3 community programs are designed with you in mind and offer free resources for those navigating Parkinson's, memory changes, or cancer. Whether you're seeking education, movement classes, or meaningful connection, our community programs offer support for every stage of your cancer, Parkinson's, and memory loss experience. Open to all in the Flint Hills region, Meadowlark's community programs are here when you need them. Visit meadowlark.org to learn more.
You've heard the expression, it's what's on the inside that counts. At Schultz Construction, they couldn't agree more. Starting with the foundation and everything inside the walls, Schultz Construction is committed to making sure the things you don't see in a house are as good as the finishing touches you do see. From custom homes to commercial buildings, Schultz Construction takes pride in their quality control from start to finish. Schultz Construction, building trusted relationships through the development of quality neighborhoods.
From our kitchen right to your heart, nothing beats a visit to our bakery at the Friendship House. I'm Jake Trumer, head chef at the Friendship House, ready to introduce you to our amazing expanded bakery selections and new rotating monthly specials. More options for cookies and kolaches, more of the famous Friendship House cinnamon, pecan, and peanut butter rolls, and the kind of mouthwatering pies that will keep everyone coming back for dessert. The only thing better than a great bakery is even more of it. Stop by for breakfast or lunch and take home some of that no place like homemade magic from the Friendship House, just off the Yellow Brick Road by City Park in downtown Wamego.
Why drive hours to catch a flight? Manhattan Regional Airport brings the world closer, right from your backyard. Enjoy the convenience of flying local, with daily service to Chicago and Dallas, making global connections easier than ever. Fast, friendly, stress-free. Soar from Manhattan, Kansas, and get closer to where you want to be. Fly smart, fly local, fly MHK.
I'm Gavin Hyatt with a game sports update brought to you by Bottle Cap Sports Bar. Following its second consecutive NCAA tournament appearance and a record-breaking 17 conference wins, K-State baseball and 8-year head coach Pete Hughes have announced the Wildcats' complete 2026 schedule. The season officially gets underway on February 13th and features 26 home games at Toynton Family Stadium. K-State Director of Track and Field, Travis Geffert, announced on Wednesday the final additions to the 2025-26 roster. The final signing group of the year includes 14 athletes with 6 freshmen and 8 transfers. In his first year leading the program, Geffert and his staff have recruited a total of 53 student athletes. Transfers include Aaliyah Foster, a transfer from Texas, who is a 4-time NCAA All-American in the long jump in her 2 seasons with the Longhorns, and Devin Loudermilk, a graduate transfer from Kansas, who is a 3-time NCAA first-team All-American and 4-time All-Big 12 finisher in the high jump. The Dodgers are now up 2-0 on the Brewers in the National League Championship Series. Max Muncy and Teoscar Hernandez homered for LA, who will host Games 3 and 4 in the best-of-7 series starting tomorrow night. This is the first time since 1970 that both League Championship Series road teams have started 2-0. We'll have the Mariners and the Blue Jays on K-Man following the Chris Kleiman Show, which starts at 7 p.m. tonight.
Well, I know that one, but only because that one gets played frequently. That's Going to San Francisco. No idea who it's by, but it's a good little tune to bring us back to Hour 2 of the game. Cole Dutchendorf, Toby Hama's in the studio, filling in for Mitch, who's at AEW in KC tonight, and I heard he's got some decent viewing seats, and I think they got gifted to him, so shout out to Mitch. I mean, he's getting big time in the wrestling world. Just need to get him ring announcing at some point, and then, I mean, that's lifetime dream accomplished. So we'll try to make it happen. We're going to keep pushing for it. I know he's going to keep pushing for it, and I hope he has enjoyed his day off and enjoys his evening in KCMO. Don't know anything about wrestling, but I'm sure it's going to be quite a vibe down there. I know we talked to Powerhouse Hobbs yesterday. I thought that was a pretty fun conversation with him. So that is the reason why Toby and I are filling in the studio. Again, mentioned top of the show, the youngest average age we've had in the studio probably ever, 21 years of age. I'm turning 22 here in the next month. Toby is freshly 21, and Gavin is not 21 yet. So I mean that puts us at 21 is the average age. So we got the youngins in the studio today, holding it down for a couple of hours. Well, I want to talk about the Chiefs, and I mean that's when I'm hosting the show. That's what I'm going to do, and it's been pretty easy to talk about them this season for one reason or another. Either it's been the unfortunate start to the season where they could have won a couple of games and they lost both of them, an 0-2 start the first time in the Mahomes era, or if it was they looked really good. They didn't look great against the Giants, but they looked really good the week after that against the Ravens, and then they looked good and still lost in a very frustrating game against the Jaguars, and then they looked really good against the Detroit Lions. 30-17 that final on Sunday Night Football. In so many different places that we could talk, and we talked to Mitch Holthus in hour one, voice of the Chiefs. There's just so many different things that we could go over in this game. The one place that I want to start, and I had to triple take when I saw that this was the case, and this is my own research. This wasn't even, I just pirated it off social media. 2021 was the last time that the Chiefs have scored 28 points or more in 3 consecutive games. That was Tyreek Hill's last year with the Chiefs, and they, of course, there was like 7 straight in that season, the last 5 games of the regular season, and then 2 in the postseason. They're humming right now, and oh, by the way, they're adding a guy who through 3 games last year had 300 receiving yards and a couple of touchdowns to go along with it.
Yeah, and I come to one of the most famous sitcom quotes, I guess you could say, of all time, How the Turntables, Michael Scott. I mean, you talk about the start to the season where people are thinking, is this the worst Chiefs team of the Mahomes era?
Look at the Eagles game. The offense couldn't move the ball for anything.
Yeah, and the clouds or everything was falling apart with the Chiefs game or the Chiefs season early on. But now people are saying, is this the best Mahomes offense in the Chiefs era or the best Chiefs offense in the Mahomes era? And it's just things have shifted so quickly. It's kind of crazy how quickly it unfolded.
And I want to start up front because the trenches don't get enough love. They probably get more love at the NFL level than anywhere else. But the offensive line has been just terrific, and they're doing their best impression of the game today. It's a pretty young unit. It's 22 years of age with Josh Simmons. Again, don't know exactly what's going on with that situation, but he's been terrific when he's played this year. His replacement, Jalen Moore, who's making $30 million over the next 2 years, who, you know, at the time when he signed, you're thinking this is probably a pretty good pickup, and then Josh Simmons just so happens to fall to the Chiefs at 31, then trading back to 32. And you're like, man, this is an expensive backup. But I would rather have an expensive backup. You go back to last year. There was a lot of options at left tackle, and none of them were good. I know Joe Thuney held up a little bit, but even he did not hold up in the Super Bowl, which is obviously when it mattered the most. So just the fact that you have not one, but two competent left tackles, and not even above average left tackles, has been a huge boost to this offense. You can just tell the trust that Mahomes has in the offensive line. And part of that also, Kingsley Suamataia, who really struggled at left tackle last year, which is where the Chiefs drafted him as. That was his position at BYU. Was not very good at a tackle. That's why he got benched after, I believe, just the first 2 games of the season, which, granted, he was going against some really tough competition. Trey Hendrickson was the one who was baptizing him in the second game, and it's like, how fair is that to him? Like, that's just a tough matchup for anyone. But he has come back, and after maybe a rough kind of preseason and a rough maybe couple of first games of the year, his last 130 pass blocking snaps, he has allowed 1 pressure. Kingsley is moving bodies in the run game, and he just looks comfortable in the passing game. And that's not to mention All-Pro Creed Humphrey, really good offensive guard Trey Smith, and Jawan Taylor, who has not been he's technically been penalized once, but it wasn't a penalty that was his fault. It was the illegal formation where he was not covered up by, I believe it was Hollywood Brown. He has not been penalized over the last 3 games, and when he's not being penalized, he's one of the better right tackles in the league. So this offensive line is where it all starts for the offense.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen in the Mahomes era, the trenches have been so important to the success of the offense. I point at maybe 2 of the worst games for the Chiefs in the Mahomes era was the Super Bowl against Tom Brady when they got just destroyed down in Tampa, and the offensive line was just miserable in that game.
When everyone and their mother was injured on the offensive line.
Yeah, exactly. And even last year's Super Bowl, when you get kicked pretty badly by the Eagles, the offensive line
when they didn't blitz once, and Mahomes faced the worst pressure rate of his entire career.
Yeah, the offensive line is so vital to the success of Mahomes, the success of the offense overall, and the offensive line is just continuing to get better, and it's great for the offense.
And with that, you also have weapons that have been producing amazingly. I'll still be not the biggest fan of the running back room because why in the world is Mahomes still leading the team in rushing through week 6? But they've been doing at least better as of late. Part of that is thanks to the run blocking has been better, but Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt, they've been playing better over the last couple of weeks. And then, you go to the wide receiver room, where every single player at that position has delivered something at some point this season. It's been really fun to watch. Tyquan Thornton is a beast, and by the way, he's your wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4. That's how good this wide receiver room is once you get Rashee Rice back into the mix. Xavier Worthy, you've seen how he's changed the offense because he comes back and all of a sudden the Chiefs are back in 2021 again. Hollywood Brown has had a terrific start. One person that I didn't get the chance to ask Mitch about was Juju Smith-Schuster, who is becoming one of my favorite players on the team. He does everything that he needs to. He's been kind of Rashee Rice light in terms of the yak after the catch. He's been taking some of those wide receiver screens and turning them into 10+ yard games. He is so good at spatial awareness for the routes. It's impeccable. You saw it with it was called an OPI at first against the Jaguars. They called it back because he was in the exact right place. The same thing with the Xavier Worthy touchdown on 4th and 2 in the first quarter or second quarter against the Lions, where, again, he filled up the exact right amount of space and gave Xavier the room that he needed to score that touchdown. Also, I don't know if you saw, it was a mic'd up segment, and Juju, before the second Hollywood Brown touchdown, Hollywood said, "Hey, where am I going?" He says, "You got the shallow." So he knows everyone's routes, and that would end up in Hollywood's second touchdown of the game. So he's just a locker room guy. He does the things that no one else in the wide receiver room wants to do. He's been blocking terrifically in the run game. He might be my favorite non-star on this Chiefs team. And by the way, that's wide receiver 5. It's that low, and you're getting, by the way, Rashee Rice back this week.
Yeah, we say it time and time again. It feels like it's the same thing every week. We talk about how good the receivers have been, and they still get Rashee Rice back. That is just going to be so huge for the offense. You said Tyquan Thornton has been a key part to the receiving core this year. I don't even think he had a catch.
He did not.
In the last game. But you had Hollywood Brown catching 2 touchdowns. There's so many options for Mahomes. It's no coincidence that Mahomes is having such a good MVP caliber season.
Well, you saw the effect of Tyquan Thornton, even though he didn't have a catch, he still changed the game for the Chiefs because of the fact that he is a legitimate deep threat. You saw a lot more too high shell, or the Lions are just trying to keep everything in front of them. And what does that do? That opens up a Hollywood Brown underneath. We didn't even mention Travis Kelce, who, by the way, 36 years old, still a pretty dang good tight end. So it's just been levels. When you have players who can succeed with different roles in an offense to the level that Kansas City has, they can hurt you from anywhere. And they can get you deep, they can get you intermediate, they can get you short. And they can get you pretty devastatingly in all 3 of those areas. So it's just going to be, death by either 1,000 cuts, or it's going to be death by 1 cut. And it's going to be, taking the top off with Tyquan Thornton or Xavier Worthy. The offense has so many different options right now, and the numbers, they back you. We pulled some numbers over the past couple of games, and one thing before, this is the first time the offense has truly been humming under Matt Nagy and his return to Kansas City. I'm not going to be a big, blame the OC because this is Andy Reid's offense, ultimately, but it's looked really good, and it's looked pretty stale over the last couple of seasons. Mahomes had his first 4-touchdown game since 2023 against the Ravens. He then did it again against the Lions with 3 passing touchdowns and the rushing touchdown. He was the AFC Player of the Week in 2 out of the 3 weeks in the Ravens and the Lions games, the first time since Week 12 of 2023. Fastest player ever to reach 300 passing touchdowns, 8 games faster than I believe it was Aaron Rodgers was the second fastest. His QBR this season, 81.4 through the first 6 games. That would be the highest it's ever been. That's better than 80.3 in his 50-touchdown, 5,000-yard season. It's better than his 79 QBR when he set the record for the most yards responsible for by a quarterback, and I think it was 2022. It could have been 2021. He also, we mentioned this isn't really a good stat, but he leads the team in rushing yards and rushing touchdowns. He's third for QBs in yards at 222, second in touchdowns with 4 behind guess who?
Say it again, sorry.
Second in quarterback rushing touchdowns behind guess who?
Of course, Jalen
Hurts.
The tush-push merchant.
Yes. I mentioned O-line continues to keep going. EPA is estimated points added per play is what we're going to go over, and that's basically... It's a little bit convoluted, but it's the expected points is based on down and yards to go until a first down and then distance to an end zone. So basically, 4 yards on the ground on 3rd and 3 is better than 10 yards through the air on 3rd and 13. It's just evaluating how important a play is to a drive based on the situation. Yards are not created equal. You'll take 2 on 4th and 1. You would not love 2 on 3rd and 3. So that's a very short overview of what EPA is. They have been terrific since week 3. They're first in estimated points added per play. They're first in success rate. They're second in the pressure rate allowed. Shout out to the offensive line. They're also third in rushing EPA. That's also a Mahomes stat because he's just so good at scrambling and extending the plays. And also against the Lions, first team in the history of the NFL to have 30 or more points, 100 or more rushing yards, 200 or more net passing yards, 0 turnovers, and 0 penalties in a game. That's a pretty tough mark to reach in all of those, and I have no reason to think that this offense is going to slow down anytime soon.
Right, and I think I mentioned this earlier. It's just we've been so accustomed to the Chiefs reaching their peak, I guess, in the playoffs, but now they're hitting that stride in the regular season, and they kind of have to because they're in a division fight. They want to regain their standing in the AFC. So I hope it can last the rest of the season and that they're not peaking at the wrong time.
And we haven't talked at all about the defense, which has also been really good. It's been very Spagsy, where you see the first couple of drives of the game, you kind of throw him out for Spags because he's using that to adjust what he's going to do for the rest of the game. You saw it against the Ravens. They went down the field in pretty short order their first drive of the game and were actually driving again until Leo got that crazy interception. Same thing with the Lions. Their first drive of the game, almost 10 minutes off of the clock. It just looked like they were bullying the Chiefs all the way down the field. And then they scored a touchdown on their next drive after the Chiefs were, to their credit, able to hold them out of the end zone on drive number 1. And then after that, they scored 7 points. This is a Chiefs defense that Spags is the mastermind behind it, and he also has the players, especially the back 7. The front 4 probably still leaving a little bit to be desired right now. It's Chris Jones and friends, and that's probably going to be what it is all season long. But the back 7 is so good that they can make up for the lack of pressure that the front 4 is getting, because the linebacker room, you can really put any of those guys anywhere. Nick Bolton has his problems in coverage sometimes. He is so good against the run. He is so good in blitz packages where it really doesn't even matter that sometimes he can struggle a little bit against the pass. Drew Tranquill, put him anywhere on a defense, he's going to be able to succeed. Leo Chanel, love that guy. He just plays with so much passion and energy. One of the strongest men on the field at all times. And he is a crazy athlete too, which he doesn't get enough credit for. And then the back end, look what happens when you play Noel Williams on the boundary. Then you move Trent McDuffie to the slot. You have Shamari Connor in his natural position at safety. Shamari Connor is a much better safety than he is a cornerback in the slot. You saw him get toasted against the Jaguars. He's a good safety. He led the team in tackles against the Lions. So there's just so many things to like about this team. Defense is really good, even though they can't really rush the passer very well. I do want to give a shout out to Chris Jones, because I know the one play didn't look so great against the Jaguars. I understand that. It was a bad look. I know the one play against the Chargers. If he holds contain on that edge, maybe the Chiefs might be sitting at 4-2 instead of 3-3. The stats, they're down a little bit, but you watch this game. Chris Jones had, I believe, he just finished with 1 tackle. Those were his stats for the game. impacts the game way more than just a single tackle. He ate Detroit's offensive line alive at times. There were a couple of plays. The one that comes to mind specifically is the one sack the Chiefs got on the game on a third down where the Lions, this is really their last chance to kind of get back into it. It's a 10-point lead for the Chiefs in the fourth quarter. And it's a third down for Detroit. I believe it was 3rd and 10. And Chris Jones just wins immediately. And he doesn't end up with the sack, but he forces Jared Goff to step up in the pocket where he's met by Charles Omenihu. And that was basically all she wrote. That was essentially the game right there, signed, sealed, delivered, because the Chiefs would go down the field, kick one more field goal, make it a 13-point game, and the Chiefs would immediately force a 4 and out. Chris Jones is such a good football player. He's still one of, if not the best defensive tackles in the NFL. Stats aren't going to tell you that this year, but he has been he's been phenomenal for this defense. And if they didn't have Chris Jones, I mean, he is the Patrick Mahomes of the defense, and that if he's gone, you're going to feel it everywhere.
Yeah, you mentioned the defensive line kind of leaving a little bit of room for there to be some desire, some more production that you're wanting out of the defensive line. I look at it as can the Chiefs trade for someone on the defensive line? We got the trade deadline coming up in 3 weeks, I believe.
Yes.
We looked at it. Who's a guy to not necessarily asking specifically for a guy, but like who can the Chiefs
Jeffrey Simmons, welcome to Kansas City.
Yeah, there you go. There's a good guy right there. But just can the Chiefs make, in addition to the defensive line, they lost Mike Pennell in the offseason, can they get a guy in there that can help stop the run?
I don't know about you. I would prefer the Chiefs to get a defensive end or D tackle more than I would like to see them get a running back.
Yeah, I'd agree. Because
even as bad as the running back room has been, you don't really your runs can now be bubble screens to Rashee Rice.
Right, yeah,
you know?
Or Xavier Worthy on a jet sweep. I mean, they got plenty of options. They're so dynamic on offense, and even though Mahomes is leading, I'm okay with him leading the team in rushing touchdowns. I don't want him leading the league.
No.
They're leading the team in rushing yards, but we've seen Pacheco. He's starting to make that climb.
He's looked better, for sure.
Yeah, and the offensive line is creating more gaps for him, so we've seen improvement. I do want them to trade for a running back still, but
why not both? Why not both?
Well, yeah, why not both? And Brashard Smith, if he could continue
he needs to keep getting touches and reps because I love watching him play football.
I like the first half. He didn't have any touches, and then immediately to start the second half, they get him involved in the offense, and he gets a first down. So,
still to this day, anytime that Brashard Smith gets a touch, good things happen. Bad things never happen when he touches the ball, and also he's been really good as a return man as well. I think the Chiefs are going to shellac the Raiders on Sunday. I think it might get ugly. I want to see Mahomes set the record for touchdown passes in a game. I want to see 8 big ones through the air, and I want to see the Chiefs just absolutely obliterate the Raiders. I don't like them very much. I like Max Crosby as a player, but I want to see just belt to behind for the Chiefs on Sunday in a rare noon game. You don't see that very often at this point. First one of the year for Kansas City in Week 7 as they look to move to above 500 for the first time this season, which is crazy to say here in Week 7. When we come back, we'll go briefly over track and field, signing the best class in the country according to KStateSports.com, and we'll wrap the show up with Ask Us Anything.
Your home for K-State Sports.
Good snap and placement. Kick on the way. It is up. And good! It's good! The Wildcats are champions of the Big 12 in 2022.
This is The Game on News Radio, KMAN.
In Manhattan, building community means more than bricks and beams. It means innovation and partnership. At McCown Gordon Construction, we deliver feature-focused solutions to projects that shape our region. From advanced research labs to vibrant education, healthcare, and community hubs. We're not just building projects, we're building the future of the Flint Hills with unmatched customer experience and value-driven strategies. We're building for tomorrow. Visit kansas.mccown-gordon.com.
If Kansas weather has taught us anything, it's to be prepared for everything. It's time to call M&S Plumbing, Heating, and Air to make sure your furnace is ready. From full safety inspections to replacing your furnace, M&S Plumbing will keep you and your family warm this winter. If it's been a while since you've had your furnace serviced and inspected, be sure to call and schedule your appointment today. Simple fixes now can save you big money later.
Call the experts who care. M&S Plumbing, Heating, and Air.
ESPN Radio Sports Beat with Freddie Coleman.
Are we back in 1965? What we've seen so far in the first 2 games of the National League Championship Series involving the Los Angeles Dodgers up 2-0 against Milwaukee Brewers, a team with the best record in the National League. two Dodgers pitchers, Blake Snell and Yamamoto, combined for 17 innings of work, allowing 1 run each game, and Yamamoto a complete game, what he did. What in the name of Sandy Koufax and Don Newcomb is going on with the Los Angeles Dodgers? Now, the Milwaukee Brewers are not just going to go gently into that good postseason, but the Dodgers are built for this. They brought in these guys that are used to postseason success, but not like this. Not the way that starting pitching has dominated the Milwaukee Brewers. They don't want to let their fans down. The Dodgers pitching staff is doing that enough. Game 3 is going to be very interesting for the Brewers to try to find a way out of a 2-hole hole against the Hollywood pitchers in Los Angeles. In 60 seconds, how good or not good are the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Actual price will depend on product and subscription plan. Featured products are compounded drug products, which the FDA does not approve or verify for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. See website for details, restrictions, and important safety information.
Want a boost in and out of the bedroom? Hims has you covered. Introducing a new 2-in-1 approach to level up your game. Tadalafil for better bedroom performance and zinc for testosterone support. Put it all together and you've got what you need to turn things all the way up. Getting started is simple. Just go to hims.com/joy to start your free online visit. Through Hims, you can access ED treatments, including pills, chews, and more, 100% online. No office visits, no pharmacy lines. Just fill out a simple intake form and a licensed medical provider will determine if treatment's right for you. If prescribed, it ships free and discreetly to your door. Find affordable treatment options at up to 95% less than brand names at hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy, hims.com/joy.
So I'm looking at the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm going, only 1 loss. Okay. Aaron Rodgers starting to play a little bit better. The defense has been slim shady and more shady than slim. The running game is non-existent. Their division is completely garbage. Nobody's playing well outside of Pittsburgh Steelers. But how good are the Steelers in the hierarchy of the AFC? Now, Aaron Rodgers believes he's only going to get better and better and better. And I love that wishful thinking because as you get older, a lot of wishful thinking takes part when you're going well and you want to continue to have that well keep going on for you. But I still don't know if we can trust the Pittsburgh Steelers. I trust their coach, Mike Tomlin. He's going to make sure they keep being in that winning mode, and they have no business losing this division with the way the Ravens, the Browns, and the Bengals have not played. But I still wonder, how good are the Pittsburgh Steelers? At a certain point, we're going to find out, and the Steelers fans may not like what they find out when it's all said and done. For the ESPN Radio Sports Beat, I'm Freddie Coleman of ESPN Radio's Freddie and Harry.
Wrapping up the show, hour 2 of the game, Cole Dutchendorf, Toby Hamas to my right, Gavin Hyatt across the glass, filling in for Mitch today. Before we get into Ask Us Anything, K-State Track signing the top-ranked recruiting class in the NCAA according to KStateSports.com. Just a couple of the players that stood out to me, and it's going to be a little bit of reading right now. Aaliyah Foster, she's originally from Jamaica, is a transfer from the University of Texas. 2 years with the Longhorns, a 4-time NCAA All-American in the long jump. Don't know much about track and field. I think that's pretty solid, is what I'm being told. Todd Chikamba is a sophomore transfer from Meridian Community College. He's originally from Zimbabwe, specializes in a long jump, and was crowned winner in the event and in both 2024 and 2025 NJCAA Outdoor Championships. And his personal best of 8.11 meters would have been 7th at Paris in the Olympics this past season. Destiny Smith, this was my favorite story to read, is a jumper from Souderton Area High School in Harleysville, Pennsylvania. As a senior this past spring, she single-handedly won the state team title by sweeping the high jump, long jump, and triple jump. And then Devin Loudermilk, who you've heard about a couple of times on the sports updates today, from Kansas, went to Kansas. He's a graduate transfer from the Jayhawks, a 3-time NCAA first-team All-American, 4-time All-Big 12 finisher.
All right.
You want to hit the bed music before we head into it? No, the Ask Us Anything bed. The white one on the other side of the... There you go. Now, there we got the Earth, Wind, and Fire as the background now.
All right, so today I have, what is a bucket list sports venue that you have that you want to visit?
For me, as a tennis guy, I would love to go to Center Court for Wimbledon in London. I think that's the pinnacle of tennis and kind of as high as prestigious as the sport of tennis gets. So probably that or Philippe Chatrier, which is the French Open like main court for tennis.
Interesting.
I don't want to brag too much, but I just got to go to Aviva Stadium for the Ireland game. So I wouldn't necessarily say that was
bucket list?
I wouldn't say that was my bucket list, but maybe some of those other historic stadiums over in Europe. I look at Wembley, right?
Yes, Wembley Stadium is huge.
I'd watch an NFL game over there for sure.
Let's see.
And now we can hit the bed music to take us through the show. Again, Gavin in his first show, so got to give him a little bit of grace. First time he's been doing it all by himself. I thought it was great. What's your grade?
I don't know. I'll give myself a B.
I was thinking a B minus, right in that area. So I thought it was, again, for first show, I'll tell you what, just sweating bullets over there is what I was doing. I was terrified.
Always room for improvement.
Yes, 100%. That's the great mentality to have for it as well. Well, that wraps it up for the show. For Toby, for Gavin, I've been Cole. We will catch you guys tomorrow, full 2 hours. Mitch back in the studio in his rightful spot. We'll talk to Curry Sexton. We'll have Mitch in Vegas. We'll preview. Actually, it's a bye week, so we won't have a game to preview, but we'll see you tomorrow for a full 2 hours.
This is Matt, Kansas State alum and store director of your Manhattan Hy-Vee. Avery Johnson will be at Hy-Vee October 16th at 6:30. That's right, your Manhattan Hy-Vee partnered with Dr. Pepper to have quarterback Avery Johnson at Hy-Vee signing autographs this Thursday at 6:30, lasting until 7:30. This is a free event with no purchase necessary, and approved memorabilia will be available on site. The first 50 people in line will be entered in a drawing and win a piece of Avery Johnson signed memorabilia from Dr. Pepper. Thank you for shopping at Hy-Vee, and as always, go Cats!
Spice up your event with Qdoba Catering. Our burrito bowls, nachos, and salads will taste oh so delicioso with juicy smoked brisket and adobo marinated grilled chicken. Fresh fajita veggies and hand-smashed guac will add a burst of flavor to your meal. Place your order today. Qdoba, united by flavor.
Feed your team with a Qdoba tailgate pack. Touchdown with our nacho bar. Get your game day rolling with a 10-pack of burritos. Or snack for the win with chips and queso or hand-smashed guac. Order online or give us a call.
The Trust Company is an independent, locally owned wealth management and investment company founded right here in Manhattan in 1992. The motivation that drives your financial goals, your life, is unique to you and your family. You won't find boilerplate, template-driven, off-the-shelf financial services and strategies at the Trust Company, but plans thoughtfully and individually designed, tailored specifically to your hopes and dreams. The Trust Company, locally